Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Kaba Ilco number 7010DC-46. This is a dummy rim cylinder. Admittedly, we don't sell many dummy cylinders that are rim in their construction, rim-type cylinders, but they sure exist. The majority of dummy cylinders are mortise cylinders, and I think it's just because mortise cylinders go into far many more types of hardware than rim cylinders do. Key switches, alarm bypass, mortise locks, aluminum storefront hardware, that all takes mortise cylinders. Rim cylinders would be used. There is a type of alarm bypass unit that I can think of that requires a rim cylinder. Exit device trim or key access control from the exterior, the ingress side of a rim exit device would take a rim cylinder. But not a lot of other products. Rim locks, night latches, those would take rim cylinders. And why you would need to blank out remove a rim cylinder and put back a dummy into it is obviously because you're just eliminating the key control over that opening. A very common, I can't tell you why this client needs this, this dummy rim cylinder. Which I'll show you in a moment. A reason would be, well, they have a exit device with trim on the outside, and that trim is what we would call a classroom function, meaning you can take the key and either leave it unlocked and then operate with the thumb piece, or leave it locked and then it's always locked. And that key is what controls the function of the thumb piece. Let's say you decided we always want to leave it in the unlocked unsecured condition. It's latched, but you can always come up and press that. You could set it, remove the rim cylinder, and then put in a dummy cylinder in its place, is why you might do that. You might oppositely, from the opposite perspective, want to prevent someone from leaving that same door unlocked. So you set it in a locked condition, and now you've turned it into exit only, obviously, because you can never come back in. You could, without having to remove that trim, replace it with just a dummy trim. You could set that into the locked condition permanently. So we have a solid brass body. It has a couple of holes drilled in the back of it that would allow you to secure it with the mounting plate and the two breakaway style screws. And they just go right through that mounting plate into that typically 1.25 inch diameter hole. And then they would thread right in. Okay, that is a rim cylinder. It will include a dummy rim cylinder collar to finish it off should you need. It's possible that you will. And this happens to be in the 46 finish, which is what they call Duracolor brown. That would be very compatible with dark bronze aluminum storefront. Okay, it's heavy, weighs 0.44 pound, and that's because it's made of solid brass. That's just a big chunk of brass that's been machined, a couple of holes drilled and tapped. A scalp plate that's over that's also made in brass. Okay, and onto that scalp plate you can do different finishes. Your brasses, your bronze, your chromes, satin polished, oil rubbed, etc. And that's what you get when there's a dummy cylinder. Now they call this 1.1 inch length of a dummy cylinder. Well, the underside of the head to the back of the body on this is indeed 1.1 inch. That shouldn't matter very much for you, unless of course you are knowingly dealing with an exceptionally thin door. You might need to be mindful of, I've had people want to blank these out on doors that were literally 1.25 inch thick. So you have to be mindful. Are you going to be able to get that installed? Will you be able to get the mounting plate and the screws cut down? Do you need to add a blocking ring to build that out? So you have to think about, is that 1.1 inch going to work? But 1 3/8 or 1 3/4 thick doors, it would work all the time. And dummy cylinders, whether rim or the far more common mortise, they're used literally to cover off a hole. You'll find dummy cylinders most typically used when someone has drilled a hole in the wrong location, and replacing the door is a worse option than having a hole there that you don't need, that you can blank off. But sometimes it's just changing the function. So you can remove a key cylinder, put in a dummy, and you're done. And that will often happen when you are in a retail scenario, maybe a restaurant, maybe a bar, where the inspector comes and they say, okay, wait a minute, you've got a key cylinder on the inside of this door. Well, this is an emergency exit. That key cylinder mandatorily requires special knowledge to exit. Let's say that door was locked. You couldn't get out. and the inspector will say, that needs to go. Or you'll have a thumb turn, and they'll say, no, that's not good enough. That needs to go. And you'll say, well, how am I going to lock my door from the inside? He's going to say, you don't, because it's an emergency exit. You can't prevent people from leaving. So a middle ground could be achieved with the inspector allowing you to remove that inside cylinder or thumb turn, putting in a dummy, and then equipping it with proper exit hardware, an exit device, or whatever the case might be. Now, sometimes you'll have a scenario where just having a decal, this door to remain unlocked during normal business hours, can be applied to the top header. I've seen that. And there could be a thumb turn or a cylinder, but that is on a case-by-case basis, with that determination being made by the inspector, him or herself. So lots of reasons why you might use a dummy cylinder. Let's switch to the screen view and take a look at some supporting documentation. Okay, so this is the item that we're looking at, even though it currently has a aluminum or satin chrome color. By the time you're seeing this video, that will probably be corrected. 1/8" Duracolor brown aluminum, solid bar brass, dummy rim cylinder. Now, the link here to the manufacturer's page, that's the supporting documentation I wanted to bring you to. The brass cylinder manual that's here, you can open that up and then do a find function on your keyboard for 7010. And you'll get to the page where you can find the dummy rim cylinder. Turns out it's the only rim cylinder that's a dummy they offer, and there would be really no reason to have a different length at all for this sort of concept. If for some reason you needed a shorter one, I suppose if you were determined, you could get this put into a fixture and then cut it on a horizontal bandsaw. But I don't think you'd ever have a need to do that when you could use a cylinder collar to build it out off the face of the door. But bringing or drawing your attention to that page where the brass cylinders are will show you all of the other cylinders. Mortise cylinders, turn knob mortise cylinders, key and knob, standard rim cylinders, dummy mortise cylinders, different keyways that can be done if it's a keyed product by Kaba Ilco, and the rest of the catalog is here and quite handy to be able to go through. So lots of part numbers that you'll be able to review, different cams and tail pieces as well. So when it comes to a dummy rim cylinder, not a lot to draw your attention to, but to make you aware of that brass cylinder manual that's there. But also on this link to the manufacturer's page, we can also take a look at the other supporting documents, which are, you know, all here. Key machine catalogs, aluminum storefront hardware catalogs. There is going to be material here on their Gemini dimple system that's here. Okay. Then, of course, you can review all of the Kaba Ilco products that we sell here as well as a link to their website. And then, again, they'll link to that brass cylinder manual and whatever other products that we have, or I should say encyclopedic documents that we have here for that material. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Now, in conclusion, what separates Kaba Ilco from other people who make, you know, somewhat generic, not generic, but composite type cylinders, is that their name is synonymous with the entire product category. Inventory is generally very deep and extensive with their products. However, because they have so many possible derivatives, length, keyway, finish, tailpiece, there are hundreds of thousands of possibilities. So of those hundreds of thousands of technical possibilities, not everything is stocked, but the common material you're going to be able to get your hands on pretty quickly, pretty easily. A very high quality product being made of solid brass is why you would certainly consider them, given the fact that it's a third or half of the cost of what OEM cylinders would cost from a manufacturer. Quite frankly, I would only not use Kaba Ilco when I would be literally prevented from doing so, meaning they did not manufacture usually the keyway that you need. But they've got a couple of dozen keyways there. There are generic and common keyways to be clear about it. But of 100% of all keyways, how many of that 100% are common typical keyways? 99%. So they cover the bases pretty well. And plus, there's a gentleman there at the factory in Cylinders, the product group manager for cylinders. He's just a outrageously valuable resource. Tolerates my questions over and over again, and to him I say thank you very much. Any questions on the Kaba Ilco 7010DC in a 46 finish, or any other Kaba Ilco product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.